How to be protected by God. You see, a lot of people desire to be protected physically without actually being protected vibrationally. And until you're protected vibrationally, you will continue to run into the same problems. I'm not necessarily just talking about running into situations that can cause physical harm, but particularly mental and spiritual harm. We exist on 3 planes of existence. And see, most people pray for protection, but they don't dwell in a vibration of protection. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the metaphysical science of how to be protected from a point of spiritual science, because as I said, until you're protected across all 3 planes of existence, you will never truly be protected. There seem to be individuals who are able to skate through life or bounce back from particular forms of adversity, or people that seem to be quote unquote favored. So I'm going to be breaking down the unconscious spiritual science and how you can do that, because the moment that you're able to be protected spiritually, you're protected physically. And this can be extrapolated to relationships, career, and income even. So as you can see, nice little shield in there. 2 swords coming out the end. I mean, I don't know like the ends of the swords, but regardless though, it's hard in it. It's good in it. All right, cool. Let's get into it.
I don't understand why they're coming at different levels.
You know what it is? You're just not on a frequency.
Maybe it's a faulty shield.
Nah, you're just not on a frequency to understand.
I see. Yeah.
Now, to the point I was saying earlier, a lot of people pray for protection without realizing that unconsciously they're praying for problems. And when I say prayer, I'm not necessarily talking about a verbal declaration, but I'm talking about a metaphysical declaration, a combination of mental and emotional energy. A lot of us pray for protection all the time without realizing that more often than not, the thing that we are praying for protection is actually the source that is calling our problems upon us. Ooh. I'll get into what I mean very shortly here.
Never had a lot, but this is all I need.
Niggas never care till it's...
Are you singing? No, I think it is. Here. Here's that.
Okay.
The goats.
I don't... One of the goats. Loyalty is priceless in song.
Yeah.
Why don't we fall in love? Why don't we fall in love? The song is the one.
Someone said, AJ always jumps into songs with you. Y'all little N-words is crazy.
Who can love you like
intelligent,
me?
but crazy.
Well, us
nobody.
Us intelligent, but crazy.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Alright, cool. Blue is a nice color for protection. Blue and purple. Cool. First things first. What we characterize as God's protection is nothing more than self-protection. What do I mean by this? You have to understand that you are the physical manifestation of God. As it says in Corinthians, you are the dwelling place of the temple of the Spirit of God. Now, spirit in that particular context, if we're looking at it esoterically, is a reference to consciousness. You are the consciousness of God. Hence why it also says the temple of God was not built with hands. And anybody that defiles the temple of God shall be destroyed, because this is nothing more than the idea that if you have destruction within your own consciousness, then you're going to materialize a condition and experience on this physical plane, which is nothing more than a reflection of your frequency, state of consciousness, self-concept, mental attitude, all interchangeable terms for the same thing that will lead to its own destruction. So the first thing that you have to begin to understand is you can't be protected by God if you're not internally already protected by yourself. And what do I mean by that? A lot of people will pray for the protection of God. A lot of people will pray for God to protect them. A lot of people will pray for a certain degree of protection through a degree of adversity. When we're going through hard times, we pray for a particular degree of rite of passage and protection, and safe passage, I should say. Without coming to the understanding that if you're not protected internally in regards to self, which is consciousness, if you're not in a state of consciousness of protection, you can never be protected. And the issue is, everybody prays for protection without coming to the recognition that whatever it is that you're verbally praying for is what you are separated from. What do I mean by this? The very act of somebody wishing for protection and hoping for protection is the exoteric definition of prayer. The true esoteric definition of prayer is an internal degree of declaration, a mental and emotional declaration. Hence why Christ says, when you pray for something, believe that you have already received it. Hence why Christ also says, when you pray, go into your secret room, and your Father who's in the secret room, pray to him, and your Father will reward you openly. This is nothing more than the secret room, or the windows, or shut the door, close the door, which is a reference to the eyes, closing off what you can see on the physical plane and praying to your Father who's in the secret place, which is your mind. And your Father who's in the secret place will reward you openly, which is what we call manifestation. That's the degree of protection. So when we pray for something and we ask for it, the very act of us asking for it is an internal degree of separation from it. And this is where it all goes wrong. The very act of you asking for something is the confession that you are separated from it. And that's a bar, write that down, because if you had it, you'd be fucking asking for it, would you? And see, that's the thing. And we need to come to an understanding that when I'm talking about God's protection is a degree of self-protection, this extends to the mental and spiritual plane. Until you have the capability of being protected on the mental and spiritual plane, you will not be protected in the realm of cause. Because there's cause and effect across this third dimensional realm, elevating to the higher planes of existence. Our physical realm, what we call reality, what you call the world around you, is the effect. And unless you're protected in the realms of cause, you can never be protected in the realm of effect. I repeat, until you are protected in the realms of cause, you can never be protected in the realms of effect. And this is the mistake that a lot of people make. A lot of people seek protection in this aspect while dwelling in problems in this aspect. So it's very important that we go through the mental plane and spiritual plane to make sure that we're protected in each plane, and you understand, so you have a total degree of self-protection, because you will never be able to experience anything in reality physically that is not within you internally. And that's a bar, write that down. Before anything can exist physically, it first has to exist vibration, which is a combination of mentally and spiritually. You can't desire for protection on the physical plane if on the mental and spiritual plane you're not aligned to it, because successful manifestation requires alignment across all three planes of existence: mental, physical, and spiritual. So it's important that we first go into the mental plane. I'll show you right now how to be protected on the mental plane. And if you can remember how to be protected on the mental and spiritual plane, you'll forever be protected no matter what arises in front of you in reality, because reality is an illusion. But the issue is a lot of people get caught up in that illusion.
Someone commented, "You've taken a very complicated subject and made it way easier for us to understand. Thank you, Nero. I was actually going to pirate your book, but decided to buy it out of respect.
Oh, wow.
You've helped me out
Thank you very
exponentially."
much. Thank you very much. The book that he's talking about getting is Outsmarting Reality. Amazon bestseller in all three categories in less than 24 hours. That's real though. Man said he was going to pirate the book, but then out of respect, he decided to buy it. That's real. I don't even mind niggas pirating the book. As long as you buy it when you're up, that's what that matters. That's what I did. You know what I'm saying?
I remember people commenting, "Yo, I'm just gonna pirate it still. I got it, but I ain't got it like that."
And that's fine. Like I don't have an issue with that. Because what's more important to me is that people are getting the knowledge. You feel me? Like let's say you pirate it and you use it to manifest something. If you get up and then you forget me,
Bro,
that's dark, man.
I know some of these men have probably seen the memes of cutting off your day ones.
You know what I'm saying? One thing that I actually want to make abundantly clear before I go into the three planes of existence and how it all works is something that is a bit sneaky but very interesting. How often as human beings do we pray for protection against things? And here's the irony. I remember growing up in church and seeing pastors pray against the spirit of poverty, yet all them niggas was broke. Praying against the spirit of suffering, yet we all suffered. Praying against the spirit of survival. Praying against the spirit of struggle. Yet the same people I saw time and time again continue to struggle, survive in poverty. This is something that I experienced with my family. And I always look back at these moments and I try to, begin to rationalize and understand it from a point of metaphysics, how we led to that materialization of reality. And one thing that I came to a conclusion of is that the things that you pray against are things that you are confessing as real and has power. So in a way, you set in motion for a frequency resonant with those things that you're praying against to come towards you. And that's really messed up. That's really, really messed up. The only people who pray against poverty are the people that are experiencing poverty. The only people that pray against the spirit of surviving are people that are surviving. So in a way, in an attempt to protect yourself against something, you're actually confessing to the universe that the existence of that frequency has the capability of affecting you. How often will people say, oh, you know, I'm just protecting my heart. Like I'm not protecting your heart against what? And once you think about it like that, you're inherently confessing to the existence of the very problem that you don't want. Because you wouldn't have to protect yourself against something if it wasn't a threat to you. And that's a bar. Write that down. Listen to what I just said. And understand this on a vibrational level. Bear in mind, when I say vibrational, I'm just talking about a point of mental plus emotional. Of course, I can break that down to your expectations, your perceptions, your beliefs, your emotionally charged thoughts, your daily moods and attitudes, your perceptions, so on and so forth. But simplistically, it is mental and emotional. The only things that you desire protection against are things that threaten you. And it's so crazy because if you ever listen to a black church, how often do they pray against the spirit of poverty without realizing that unconsciously they're reinforcing the frequency of poverty? How often do you hear people pray against survival without realizing that unconsciously they're reinforcing the frequency of survival? How often do you see people praying against the spirit of suffering without realizing that they're reinforcing the very spirit of suffering? Because anything that you desire to protect yourself against is a confession of the existence of that potentiality being something that you can experience. So you set in motion to experience it within because you have let it within. So you can only let it in without. And I see this time and time and time again. Time and time and time again. So we can extrapolate this to a multitude of things. I need to, make sure that I do this so I don't get fired from work. Now that you've let that particular frequency, that state of consciousness, the existence of that potential scenario within, you've now set in motion to potentially materialize it. Or from a base definition of the things that we see to protect ourselves against, without realizing that what could there possibly be in this universe to protect yourself against when you recognize that every particular condition, every circumstance, and every experience is nothing more than God. And it's interesting. And it does get a bit dark when I think about the potential, situations and scenarios. And it does bring me a particular degree of pain to my heart, if I'm being honest. But if you're looking at it from a point of metaphysics, even if we look at the Kabbalion says the all is in all. So God is quite literally the substance of reality. The consciousness of God is this whiteboard. It's a particular condition. It's a particular circumstance. It's a particular person. These are all nothing more than materializations of God. So that would mean that our very desire for protection is a confession of threats. And we're letting in threats into our state of consciousness. And please, don't take this to extreme examples, but more so extrapolate it to situations like potentially losing business, not getting the job, losing a job, losing a certain person. People will do the most to protect themselves from going through scenarios without realizing that they're actually inviting the problems of that frequency onto them. Because if it wasn't real to you, you wouldn't have to protect yourself against it. But the fact that you have to protect yourself against it means the existence of that particular frequency is something that you have accepted as a potentiality in your subconscious mind. So therefore, it has the potentiality to be brought into actuality. Just listen to the things that people in church are praying against without realizing that they're very much reinforcing the threat of those things onto their life. I hear it, I see it time and time again. And this is something that just came to me. So really and truly, once you come to the understanding of the unification with a particular degree of God consciousness, then you understand there's nothing really to protect yourself from. And the desire to protect yourself is a confession of a particular threat. And the confession of a particular threat is an invitation for the potentiality of that threat to be materialized into your reality. What do you think about that, AJ? You look like you're thinking.
Just reading this comment. I told you in the comments about how your previous video really helped me with this concept of perfection and how I was getting into the same cycle off, on, and off. Of on and off manifestations for a year. After I detached myself from that, I stopped saying that I don't have time to focus on my inner world because of med school. A week after that comment, which is today, one my desire that I had a month ago became my reality, which was to receive R500 as a
500 rands.
What's that?
South African currency, I believe.
Okay. But I actually received 3 times more? Oh shit, okay.
Wow.
All of that through simple methods, being mentally, knowing, and taking the aligned action. Visualization, scripting, and affirming are now optional. This manifestation really showed me it was possible, and I was just overcomplicating things.
Most definitely.
Thanks, Nero, with a big heart.
It's coming to the recognition that those techniques, there is no secret technique or there is no magical technique. The only secret and magical technique is you. And each one of those techniques is a potentiality of vehicles that are used to take you to a certain degree. A lot of people have this idea that beliefs create reality. No, beliefs do nothing more than position you to be in a place for reality to reflect where you're at. And that's the bar. Please write that down. Once again, I'll say that again. Beliefs themselves don't create reality. You create reality even without the idea of a technique or utilization of a technique. What creates, in a sense, is techniques reconstruct your consciousness in order for reality to reflect your consciousness, having done that technique to be reflective of your desired reality. It positions you to manifest what it is that you want. That's the only purpose of the technique, to establish this particular degree of emotional reconstruction, because emotional reconstruction is a reconstruction of the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind is illogical in the same way that emotions are illogical, and emotions themselves are an energetic charge, and the stronger the energetic charge, the higher the degree of emotional intensity, which doesn't necessarily have to be in a euphoric way. It could be in a very calm way, it could be in a very blissful way, it could be in an excited way, it could be in a happy way. It's entirely up to you. Let's get into the idea of protection on the mental plane. As I said, in order to be protected, you need to be self-protected. When we're talking about the self, we're talking about an aspect of the infinite intelligence which you are a materialization of on this physical plane. So, and make sure you take notes and leave them in the comments as usual. So in order to be protected on the mental plane, that would have to mean that not only your beliefs, but your emotionally charged thoughts are reflective of already being protected. And see, this is the difference. In order to materialize your desired reality, or to materialize a particular degree of reality in this moment in time, you need to begin to transcend time and go to the end already, perceiving what you want to be something that has already happened. Because in doing so, you send that particular degree of past tense to the subconscious mind, to which then it begins to will into reality how it can materialize. That's the only way it's going to go. So, more often than not, mentally, we do not think thoughts of protection. We do not think and hold beliefs of protection. I'll give you an example. Bear in mind, these thoughts are emotionally charged, because it's the emotion that adds a particular different degree of vibration to these thoughts, increasing the likelihood of them materializing, as opposed to just thoughts by themselves, due to the fact that emotion is the language of God. Proverbs 4:23, guard the heart, because everything you do in life springs from it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As a man thinketh in his heart, as a man thinketh in his heart. Understand, it is the heart, is the emotional center that makes the biggest changes in reality, because the heart is the first organ that you get. It's the most spiritual organ that you have. Hence why across Islamic and even all the way back to ancient Egypt, the idea of the heart being weighed on a scale and having to be lighter than a feather was something that was a paramount spiritual concept. And even if you look at modern science, if we're looking at electromagnetic fields, the heart produces an electromagnetic field 60 to 100 times more powerful than the one of the brain. The heart is so important. There's a hadith that says there's one piece of flesh that if it becomes spoiled, the whole body becomes spoiled, and that is the heart. Now, when we're talking about mental protection, you have to already be in a state of consciousness of being protected. Now, very often people say I'm protected. Yeah, you'll see it in niggas' Instagram bios. Niggas will put God protected me or God's favor or some shit like that. But that's on Instagram. What about mentally? And mentally, anytime that you think thoughts that resonate in a degree of insecurity, you are depleting your protection. That's a bar, write that down. Any thoughts that reflect a degree of insecurity or instability, that depletes the protection that you have within. What do you mean by that, Nero? Well, think about the idea of security. You know what you're like when you're feeling secure. When you're secure, you're not worried. You're not fearful. But once we begin, and nothing's compartmentalized in the mind. So once you think to yourself, fuck. Like, what if I lose my job? Or you think to yourself, if I don't get that job, how am I going to pay for my rent? And how am I going to pay my, oh my God, I'm behind on my rent. Or you think to yourself, that person's going to hurt me. Oh my God, that person's going to hurt me and leave me. That person's going to abandon me. Or you think to yourself, oh my God, what if my business just goes down all today? You can see thus a multitude of different thoughts across different fields, but they're all resonant with the same characteristic, which is that degree of insecurity and instability. What it truly is, it's lacking certainty. And any time that you think thoughts that resonate insecurity, instability, or thoughts that show a degree of lacking certainty, you deplete the protection that you have on the mental plane. Now, here's the thing. Never forget, how can you be secure without if you're not secure within? And that's a bar. Write that down. Before you can be protected or secure on the physical plane, you first need to be protected on the mental plane, which means that you're going to have to now pay very close attention to the thoughts that you think again and again and again. Are the thoughts that I'm thinking reflective of my protection, or are they reflective of my threat? There's either protection or threat. You're either under protection or threat. And these are two particular energetic polarities that exist, and you can either be on one or the other, but you can't be on both. You need to stabilize one particular frequency to singularity. So, any particular degree of thoughts that you have on a daily basis, you need to be watching your thoughts of instability and insecurity. You need to be watching any thought that you have that resonates, implies, or reflects insecurity or instability. Extrapolate this to whatever it is that you're seeking to materialize. If it's in a context of income, are the thoughts that you're thinking, fuck, I'm gonna pay for this. Oh my God, if I don't pay for this, they're gonna take this away. They're gonna do this. Extrapolate this to relationships. Are they gonna hurt me? Like, what if they go out and they cheat on me or not? What if they go out and they do something to me? Anything that takes you away from a particular degree of security takes you to insecurity. And insecurity within is a lack of strength and protection within, which means that will lead to a lack of protection without. If you want to be an individual that is protected by the infinite intelligence, then you need to be protected within, which means there has to be a certain degree of security within. And it gets even further. Let's take it to our beliefs. If your beliefs reflect a certain degree of instability or insecurity, then that also sets in motion for you to experience it. Think about it like this. As Black people, we're taught that you're less likely to get a particular position because you're Black. And when you're in that position, you have to work twice as hard as other people in order to keep that job for half the recognition. This is like a collective experience. This is something that my mother told me when I was young as a form of protection. But when you look at it from a point of metaphysics, there are no truths in reality other than what the subconscious mind experiences as true. As it says in the Kabbalion, all truths are half truths. Is that true? Yes, that's one version of the truth. But the energetic polarity hides itself as an option, which means that we can only begin to experience that vibration, which means we experience that frequency, which means we experience that reality. As a Black person individual, and extrapolate this to whatever you are, whether your age, whether your ethnicity, so on and so forth, no matter what it is, extrapolate this, because you have to be able to dissect the inherited beliefs, or the inherited limitations, I should say, of the collective consciousness and how they affect you. As a Black person, my beliefs have instilled me to be very far from security. Actually so unstable, it would be crazy to you. So how could I ever be protected within if I'm not protected without? Or let me say that again. How could I ever be protected without if I'm not protected within? And protection, for simplicity's sake, for the points that I'm trying to make, protection is security. And if my security lies in a balance and it's always being hung over my head that my security could go beneath my feet at any given moment, how the fuck could I ever be protected? Analyze the beliefs that you've been given. Analyze the beliefs that you have. Because if a belief does not serve you, then it's just there to control you. How does it benefit me, the collective consciousness, that I need to work twice as hard as everybody else to get half the work? If I believe that on a subconscious level, then my subconscious will seek to materialize it. And then I'll go back to my mom and I'll be like, Mom, you're right. I worked twice as hard for half the recognition. Was my mom a prophet? Or did my subconscious simply create? And that's something that has to be thought about. Your thoughts on a daily basis have to be consistent with things that resonate, reflect, and imply security. And security is a particular degree of confidence. Confidence and conviction, which I'll get into after this. But on a mental plane, you can let nothing in that threatens the security of your world, because a threat of your world that you allow within your consciousness will eventually seek to materialize itself. You'll be the individual in a relationship that always feels unstable, like it could just go beneath your feet. You'll be the individual in a business who feels like it could go beneath your feet at any given moment. You'll be the individual in a career that feels like it can go beneath your feet at any moment. And the only reason it can go from beneath your feet is because underneath you is a trap door. And that trap door are all the emotionally charged thoughts and beliefs that you have let in that actually reflect insecurity and instability, as opposed to making sure that the ground beneath you is as solid as fuck. And that can only happen if you have a certain degree of certainty that nothing can fuck with you. Why? Because you're protected already. How often do you think to yourself, there's nothing to worry about? See, even Angel's like,
I don't know about all that.
Exactly. We've normalized the idea that there's looming threats in our reality again and again. And a normalization in consciousness leads to an expectation. And an expectation is a form of creation. You get what you expect. But it sounds crazy, innit? Don't get it twisted. I know how this shit sounds. Like, it sounds fucking insane. But if we're looking at it from a point of metaphysics, then in context of the fact that before we can experience anything physically, we first have to be vibrationally. Until you have security vibrationally, you'll never have vibration physically. And that's a bar, write that down. So think about the way that you've been taught to think, the thoughts that you've been normalized to have. How am I going to pay for this? What am I going to do if this? What am I going to do if this? What am I going to do with this? What about this? What about if this, if that? All of those are nothing more than potential trap doors beneath your feet that set in motion at any moment to be materialized. And if at any moment they can be materialized, then at that point, that's when you're no longer protected. It's important that you're able to take a note of the beliefs that you've been taught to have that reflect insecurity and instability. Extrapolate this to whatever it is, whether finances, romantic relationships, or your career. And the emotionally charged thoughts that you have on a daily basis. What would you think? In fact, let me ask you this question. And this is a question that you need to write down on your board. Because ironically, even though this video is more so about God's protection, it actually sets in motion for a particular degree of security. This video is really truly about security. And security can be extrapolated to all different types of things. How to be secure in getting a certain career promotion and being secure in that position, being secure in being employed, being secure in a healthy relationship, being secured in your finance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this can be extrapolated to a multitude of different things. And I think to myself, this might be one of my most important videos for the mere fact that we live as human beings. We've been conditioned to be so insecure, so unstable internally, without realizing that this is kind of like the foundations of everything that we build upon in reality. If we're insecure and unstable within, how could we ever be secure and stable without? And this can be extrapolated to secure and stable in relationships, secure and stable in career, secure and stable in our finances. So as I said, make sure you're taking notes and leave them in the comments.
Yo, this comment's sick.
Go on.
Nero, big ups from Toronto.
Why did you read that in an accent?
I started watching you a few months ago, bought your book, read it, took notes. Amazing book, by the way. Helped me digest the info better than the videos.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
now
very much.
I have started manifesting like crazy. I manifested money randomly getting sent into my account, and I have closed 10K in sales with 0 objections for my business in the
Fire.
past 2 days.
Fire. In
Signed.
the last 2 days.
Yeah, crazy.
Fire.
Signed 2 new clients to my other business, manifested 2 different calls from 2 old clients of mine, and to top it all off,
Naturally.
I said to myself,
Fucking naturally.
if this shit is for real, I will see a purple BMW.
What do you, I said if this shit is for real. You don't know we really do it out here.
3 days later, I saw one, exactly the color I envisioned.
Purple BM.
Yep, driving home from work. Since then, I've seen 3 more purple BMWs. All of that seems crazy, but after it all, I received a call from a man named Nero, who's your age, looking for my services.
Doppelgangers running around.
Crazy. Keep in mind, I've never met a guy named Nero in my life. Crazy. My original manifestation was to get my girl off 4 years back, by the way. Crazy. Crazy.
You got it like that.
Who the hell's called Nero?
You know what I'm saying? Real talk.
It's kind of weird. Shout out Toronto though, fam. Word of my dead.
$1 million question. One of the most important questions you could ever ask yourself, and one of the most important questions you could ever get an answer to. What would I think if I was secure and stable? Once again, extrapolate this to whatever it is you're seeking to materialize, whether your finances, whether a career promotion, relationship, healthy relationship, no matter what it is. What would I think if I was secure? Because here's the thing. What we believe if I was, meaning when you're in the destination of your desired reality, you think these things, actually is a frequency in of itself. Your destination is a frequency. And ironically, that frequency is the starting location to get to the destination. And that's a bar, write that down. Which means when you can answer yourself this question, and please actually just stop for a moment and write this down, because the more that you're able to get a gauge of what you would think, the more you're tapping into a future version of yourself and being able to extrapolate frequency from that version of you now to be guided towards that pathway. And that's a bar, write that down. What would I think if I was secure and stable? Write down like 3 lines and just throughout the day, just mentally inject them into your head again and again. Mentally inject them into your head. I have more than enough.
Damn nigga, I'm lit.
There you go. Damn nigga, I'm lit. I don't have to worry about anything. This sounds so fucking crazy, innit? It sounds mad. It sounds crazy. But the irony is, what you deem to be your destination has a frequency that ironically is the starting location to get to your destination. And once you can answer that question, you've now protected yourself on the mental plane. That's one out. That's you know what I'm saying? We still got others to do. Bear in mind, typically when niggas want to protect themselves, they want to put like evil eye and shit. Put evil eye emoji or some shit, or like a fucking bracelet. I mean, nothing. More important, more dangerous than the evil eye is the evil mind. I'll get into that though. That's a bar.
As if someone said, this video started without a tap. I don't like it.
Oh, they're talking about the
whiteboard tap you do at the start.
Oh, one of the older videos.
Yeah.
I know I was lacking that day, man. Never again.
Where should we go next for real?
I don't know, bro. New York was nice, man. Other states. Arizona looks nice.
I've never heard anyone speak about Arizona.
Looks nice. Cool. So spiritual protection. Now that you understand how to protect yourself mentally, now it's about spiritual protection. Bear in mind, what we call spiritual protection is spiritual security. Now, when we're talking about spiritual, the most spiritual things that we have, as I was saying earlier, is our heart, so it's our emotions. So when I say spiritual protection, I'm talking about emotional protection, which is nothing more than feeling the emotion that you'd feel upon being protected. Upon being protected, for most people, it would probably be resonant with peace, calm, serenity, and maybe even excitement. Now, of course, extrapolate this and make it entirely personal to you, because it's going to be different for different people. But this is just my list. Me genuinely as a person, I'm a very peaceful, calm, serene person. So I would know that my version of spiritual protection would be feeling these emotions. Because here's the irony of it all. The irony of it all is that typically the world wants to take you so far from being spiritually protected by making your emotions be reflective of the energetic polarities. The world wants you in fear, the world wants you in worry, panic, and chaos. Because ironically, these emotions emit a frequency that reflect insecurity, instability, which is the opposite of being protected. These emotions are the very unfolding point for every threat that we can imagine. What if the threats that we begin to experience in our reality, getting a parking ticket, something breaking, you needing to pay for it, somebody, coming in your life and just doing the most, losing your job, potentially beefing a co-worker, and everything like that, essentially unfolded from the emotions that the world has conditioned us to experience, such as fear, chaos, panic. Because ironically, these are the emotions that indicate to the universe that we're under a threat. Because think about it, when you're under threat, how the fuck do you feel, nigga? Each one of these things. So if you're feeling these things on a day-to-day basis, you are indicating to the universe that there's something within me that is threatening me. And if there's something within me that is threatening me, then you set in motion for something to threaten you without. Why? Because it exists within. As within, as without. As within, as without. As within, as without. Once again, our issue as human beings is desiring to see a change in reality before we see a change in ourselves. And that's a bar, write that down. Because the more that you're able to shift from fear, worry, panic, and chaos into peace, calm, and serenity, this is how you begin to protect yourself on a spiritual plane. Because the spiritual plane is associated with the emotional side of you. And if your emotions are reflective that you're in survival mode or so on and so forth, then really and truly, that indicates to reality that you're under threat. I mean, that's what survival mode is. We speak about a survival state of consciousness. A survival state of consciousness means you're under threat, potentially physical threat, or even when it comes to food, hunger, and thirst, which is how we've been socialized to live. I'm from the ends, I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And it's important for you to get to a point where you recognize, and I remember being in the ends, I used to try to get my niggas to meditate. I'm talking GMs. Some of the niggas are in jail right now. I won't say free my guys because they've done some bad things, but you understand the point that I'm trying to make here. It's the idea that maybe in an existence or a particular degree of adversity or a reality that is reflecting a degree of survival, until you can be in that state of consciousness within, in a peace, calm, and serene state, you will keep indicating to the universe that there's something that you're calling to threaten you. Think about these emotions as a beacon of lights for different threats to come and find you, so long as you're operating in resonance with those threats. You can only ever be under threat when you're resonant with being under threat. And that's the irony. But the idea of clearing threats from our mind seems so, it sounds even stupid. It doesn't even make sense. But that's the thing, frequency defies rationality. And you have to get to a point where you begin to understand that if it exists within, then it has potentiality to exist without. And if there is fear within, chaos within, panic within, then you set yourself in motion for the universe to interpret it as, this person's in a state of fear. What are they worrying about? What are they panicking about? You know what, let's send them something that's reflective and resonant with that. And it's the same thing. It's a combination of understanding how I would feel upon being in a state of security once again. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what would I feel if I was secure? And this is different for different people. This is really all about you. This isn't about what I would do. This isn't about what I would think, because I'm not you. And this is, you're in your reality, created and constructed by your frequency. So how you'd feel is unique to you. And I can't emphasize how important that is. It has to be something to do with you. And this is the game. Because the funny thing is this, the more that we align ourselves in our consciousness with the infinite intelligence, the more protected we are. What would God have to be worried about? What would God have to be fearful about? What would God have to be chaotic about?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And as the physical expressions of God, as the physical manifestations of God, why do we then take on an unnatural misalignment to the true state of consciousness to which we originate from? And when we are misaligned from God, if you ask the average religious person, average Christian, what's hell besides gnashing teeth, physical torment, fire and brimstone, they'll be like, it's an eternal separation from God. But how can we be eternally separated from God if God is omnipresent? Even in hell, God is there because we are there. But on an esoteric standpoint, hell is a misalignment of that consciousness. When we're misaligned from heaven, when we're misaligned from peace, calm, and serenity, we're in a state of hell. And when we're in a state of hell, we call upon threats of ourselves. Christ said, no man cometh unto me save I call him. I call the individuals in my reality towards me. It's the understanding that whether we're talking about financial threats, or we're talking about career threats, potential heartbreaks, these things have no existence in our reality unless they have existence within us. And that's a bar. Please write that down. But you have to be willing to go through your state of consciousness and seek to identify these things, which I don't want to say is the hard part, but it's the aspect that requires the most effort that most people will never do. Most people will never understand how they're continuously experiencing the same patterns. If you're experiencing the same thing again and again, you're not experiencing in a pattern, you're experiencing yourself. And until you become aware of yourself, you'll just keep running into the same loop again and again. She's a man-eater, make you work hard, make you sweat hard, make you want all of her love. She's a man-eater, buy cars, make you push cars.
Oh, this was it.
All on.
I'm surprised you didn't send me this to read. So, Nero, you have truly opened doors to my own brain.
Wow.
Every single thing you have said on this channel has aligned with the things in my mind and I never knew existed.
Wow.
You are an amazing teacher. I am truly excited to continue circulating these teachings within the world.
Just a student.
As you say. You and AJ are some funny people, and it is truly a blessing. I will never be outside of my desired reality.
Fire.
Since your first video, everything has shifted me into what I used to think was not possible to happen.
Wow.
You and AJ are amazing. Cheers, gents.
I love it when you niggas give my guy the credit he deserves.
I guess I should say thank you too.
Naturally.
Thank you.
Bro, you said thanks to both of us. You get me? Out here doing good things.
I didn't have I had a generator for 7 years.
You know what I'm saying? Different type of hunger. Different type of hunger.
Thank you, Nero, and your nonchalant power level is
nonchalant is crazy. Am I nonchalant?
Yeah.
You think so?
You just did it right there. You turned around and said, nonchalant is crazy.
That's funny.
AJ reading my comment and Nero understanding me is popping my whole birthday week off. I ain't gonna lie, I started tweaking a little bit. Also hearing y'all read in my perceived Philly accent without even knowing me just confirms I know about my frequency. Bro, I'm gagged. I don't remember what that comment is, but
you just read someone's comment twice. They're about to be tweaking now.
Yeah, real.
They're about to be tweaking now. Huh? So understand this. Now that we've gone through the mental plane and spiritual plane particular degrees of protection. Bear in mind, one thing I want to say for each plane is that coming to the understanding that you are the materialization of God, right? It's important that you align yourself with God on the mental, physical, and spiritual plane. And this is what Christ was representative of. We're all physical expressions of God. But the reason why Christ was so profound is because he was able to align and become unified with the infinite intelligence on the mental plane and spiritual plane. Hence why he was able to affect our particular degree of reality and perform miracles, because he was able to affect the realms of cause and down to the realms of effect. That's why Christ was so amazing. And the same thing for Buddha, and it's the same thing for Krishna. Now, it's about understanding that the moment that you allow unity to be formed in wholeness and oneness with God mentally and spiritually, if you look at it mentally, what could fuck with God? Quite literally. If you look at it spiritually, what could fuck with God once again? And when you look at it like that, all the threats that we begin to experience in our world become so asinine. It becomes ridiculous, inferior even. And that's how it should be. But the world wants to place it above you. So you are under the frequency of the world. So the world's frequency is above you, and it has the capability of swaying you to the degree that it does. But when you look at it mentally and you understand that the moment that you begin to dwell in security on the mental plane, the moment that you begin to dwell in the feelings of security on the spiritual plane, then you've now altered your cause. So now you're altering your effect, and things will begin to rapidly change in front of you. Now, one thing that I want to make crystal clear is that what you don't give, you can't receive. Now, earlier I was talking about how niggas will wear evil eye bracelets and be like, oh, I'm protected because I got a bracelet. That's the fucking physical plane. The physical plane is the realm of effect. How could you be protected on the physical plane by something on the physical plane if the physical plane is the realm of effect? The only way you can ever be protected on the physical plane is if you're protected on the mental and spiritual plane. And here's the thing. Christ, of course, had the amazing law of the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. But as human beings, we make the mistake of only being able to extrapolate this physically. 3 planes of existence. Treat others how you want to be treated physically, mentally, and spiritually. Because these are all 3 planes of existence. So what do I mean by that? What you don't give, you can't receive. Why? Because whatever it is that you receive, you're receiving from another version of you. Whatever you give, you're giving to another version of you. It's just you in this universe. Every individual that you see is nothing more than a different physical expression of the same consciousness that dwells within you. And this is why Christ's rule of treat others how you want to be treated was so profound, because it was tapping into non-duality. It was transcending the 3rd dimensional realm and seeing that despite being separated physically, we are all one where it truly matters. And quantum physics speaks about the concept of quantum entanglement, which is the idea that when 2 particles are connected, no matter how far separated they become across the universe, what you do to one is instantly done to another. And this is the same thing about us on the spiritual plane. And what you need to begin to understand is, don't only treat others how you want to be treated physically, but mentally and spiritually. So the thoughts that you think about others, if you think, yeah, that guy's a fucking asshole, guess what? You're giving to receive to you once again. How you feel about another person, once you feel envy towards another person, you're really just envious over another version of you, which doesn't even make sense. Hence why that misaligns you. What you don't give, you can't receive. If you don't give disrespect, you can't receive disrespect. Because even when you do receive disrespect, because it doesn't exist within, you won't register it as disrespect. You'll probably be like, damn, I'm sorry for those people. It's completely different. When it's not within, it can't be without. When you don't give out hate, you can't experience hate. When you don't give out envy, you can't experience envy. But simultaneously, it can be in the other direction. And truly, think about, on the spiritual plane, it's how you feel about others. On the mental plane, it's what you think about others. How often do you control your thoughts from thinking negatively about other people? No, he's a fucking asshole. No, she thinks she's too good. She thinks she's too nice. She's dead anyways. That's typical nigga shit right there.
That's some UK shit, for real.
Nah, it's just a Mandan thing. I think all guys, when they get rejected by their girl, they'll be like, she was dead anyways.
She's clapped.
She ain't even that nice. Right? How do we feel about people? If we feel resentful towards another individual, we're just truly resentful towards ourselves. Hence why the Buddha said holding on to anger is like holding on to a hot coal that you never throw. Damn. Amazing, isn't it? Because you're the only one that gets burned. Because even your feelings of resentment towards another person is truly, once you transcend this third dimensional realm and you no longer see separation, that's feelings towards another version of you. And because that's feelings towards another version of you is really just you again. What you don't give, you don't receive. And simultaneously, what you give is what you receive. So if you give out love for other people, then you get to receive love. If you give praise to other people, you set yourself to receive praise. If you give appreciation, acknowledgement, if you make other people feel seen, they'll make you feel seen. Why? Because every individual in this universe is nothing more than another version of you just physically expressed. So if you want to talk about being protected when it comes down to people on a social level, understand that it all begins with you. Because what you experience on a social level is truly what's happening on an internal level. And that's a bar. Please write that down. Because it's the truth of the matter. Which means you're going to have to control your mind when it sees some fucking asshole online. Because that's just another version of you. How you feel towards another person is just another version of you. And this is something that people never ever clock. But this is as real as it gets. You understand what I'm saying? So the golden rule of Christ doesn't just extend to, treat others how you want to be treated physically. Think about others how you want other people to think about you. Feel for others the way you want other people to feel for you. It's just a big cycle of you and again. Don't get caught up in this physical plane thinking that we're all different. And when you see a homeless person, you think to yourself, what a bum. No, because without realizing it, what you're doing is setting yourself in motion to experience a particular frequency where what you're casting upon another will be visited upon you to some degree or another, in one shape or form or another. Whenever people go out with me to certain places, they'll be like, wow, you get treated so nice here. Or people treat you in a certain way. And it's because the things that I'm thinking about those people is nothing but appreciation, love, so on and so forth, and how amazing they are. Even if it's somebody just serving me food at a restaurant. You understand what I'm saying? Because thought transference exists, right? We're all devices in a sense connected to the Wi-Fi of God, and we can all send messages back and forth mentally, right? It's like thinking about somebody, then they call you. It's like texting somebody, they're like, oh, I was just thinking about you. It's like going to call someone at the same time. We're all interconnected. That doesn't just extrapolate to the people in your life, that extrapolates to the people in your world. And you can't dismiss that. So before you think terrible thoughts about somebody else, and you might think to yourself, oh, I'm spiritual because, I didn't call him a fucking asshole even though he was. I just thought it. No. The fact that you're still thinking it means that you've actually set it on the plane of cause now to experience it in the physical plane. It's mad. It's mad to say the least, huh? It's a mad thing. Now, the ultimate form of protection is this. If you internalize this on a mental and emotional level with confidence, security, and certainty, and say with conviction internally, then nothing will be able to fuck with you in this physical plane. And you'll forever be protected no matter what appears in front of you. Bear in mind, whatever appears in front of you, any particular form of adversity or threat or difficulty, so long as you can maintain this, you'll be fine wherever in front of whatever. Because it's not about what's going to happen. It's about who you're going to be when it does. More importantly, it's not about what's going to happen. It's about what happens within. And so long as you can maintain this idea that nothing can touch me, then you never have to worry about being protected, or you never have to worry about being under threat. How could you ever be under threat if nothing can't touch you? A lot of people will say that they're protected by God, but then be fearful of, people in the world or demons or anything along those lines. It's like, within your consciousness, you're clearly worried about it. You're clearly under threat of it. But when you step with a power of nothing can touch me, that I am protected, with conviction and confidence, you never have to worry about nothing. And when you never have to worry about nothing, you're in a position that the world doesn't want you to be in, because the world forever wants you to be worried. Because if you're worried, you're in survival. And if you're in survival, you're under threat. And if there's threat within, there's threat without. But when you step into the consciousness of nothing can touch me, you then become untouchable. And that is true security. No matter how far or how late you are on bills, no matter whether you have a job or not, whether you have that career promotion or not, whether you have that particular degree of healthy love or not, when you're in the idea of nothing can touch me, even when things do try to touch you and you're still in that state of consciousness, something will just happen and you'll forever be protected. It all begins with the understanding that you are protected. And once you come to the conclusion that you are protected and nothing can touch you, then you become untouchable.